Hey team, today I'm putting together a small tutorial on how to use an online activity builder called Desmos. A lot of you probably know Desmos as an online graphing calculator, but it's so much more than that. It has this amazing feature to create activities that you can give your students that they can complete from home. And what's so cool about Desmos is that when you create these activities, all students have to do is go to a website, student.desmos.com, enter a class code that you've created for an activity that you've built, and three, you don't even have to be online for it. So this gives your students the ability to complete these engaging activities without you actually having to be on a website, be monitoring, doing all this and that. So this is a great feature, and I know a lot of us right now are thinking about, what is a meaningful activity that I can put together for my students, and that not being just something that, they're going to read and respond, which is great. But, how can we really engage our students on a deeper level while being at home? I think that's what we're all trying to figure out right now. And Desmos is a great feature. It's a great platform for giving your students those engaging activities while at home. So like I just said, all students, once you've created an activity, all students have to do is go to a website, enter a code you've created for that activity, and they can complete it on their own independently, which is what we are moving into right now. So let's dive right in. The first thing you're going to do when you create a Desmos activity is go to desmos.com. All right, when you go to desmos.com, you're going to see, at the top this start graphing feature, which is what most of us, I believe, think that Desmos is. So you click on that, we get to the graphing calculator, and that's great. That's a very powerful tool. I'd say a more powerful tool when students are working on homework or we're just in class doing some graphing or whatnot. But let's explore the classroom activities function today. So if you scroll down just a little bit at the bottom middle of the home page, you'll see this classroom activities tab. Give that a click. That's going to take you to the activities screen. All right, and once you get here, which you don't have to, you can actually go here directly without having to go to desmos.com and then click that tab. If you want to go directly to this screen, the teacher creation screen, just go to teacher.desmos.com. That'll take you straight there. Same exact thing. Now, when you get to teacher.desmos.com, the first things that you're going to see are all of these featured activities, these featured collections. And it's pretty cool. Desmos actually has a number of pre-made activities that both Desmos have created and other teachers have created and made public. And I've actually used quite a few of these pre-made activities in my classes. However, I like to create my own custom activities just a little bit more, because then I can tailor each question, each slide to what we're actually learning in class and how that relates, to the exact standard that we're trying to master. So if you're looking at it, feel free to explore some of these pre-made activities. Some of them are very cool. This is more math oriented, but as you'll see when I show you how to create an activity, this can actually be used across any subject area. However, these pre-made activities are more math-based. So maybe you're just searching for a pre-made, you're doing something on slope in your math class. You can slide through here and you can look at all of these activities that created. So maybe let's check this one out, the water slide. What is the water slide? Oh, as you can see, I've created some class codes. This is actually one that we did in my class one day as an extension to what we were learning on slope. So when you click on the pre-made activity, I'll give you a brief description. So right here, students will use equivalent ratios to create a smooth ramp for a water slide. Once you scroll down, you'll see all of these slides here. All right, now these are the slides from the activity. This is what the students will actually work through. So if you click on these screens, you can actually see what the students will work through on each slide. So for the instance, this first one, these ramps make for a smooth slide. Press try it to see what we mean. You click try it. The student will click try it. It will give them this little visual representation. and then they'll be able to move on to the next slide. But like I said, these are pre-made activities and they can be used as, you know, a really good extension, but I like to create custom activities because I can really tailor in on what I'm wanting my students to learn in the current section or chapter that we are in. So let's go back to the home screen here on the left. And so first thing you want to do, let me sign out here. When you get here, you're not going to have an account to start. So you go to teacher.desmos.com. You actually don't need to create an account. If you sign in with your Google account, your PVUSD account, it will automatically create you an account. So you just say sign in with Google. You basically already have an account. Click your PVUSD email. Bada bing, bada boom. It takes you back to the page. You're all logged in and you're set to go. So let's get into an actual activity creation. So we want to create a custom activity. Over here on the left, you'll see this Your Activities section, and 2 tabs below is Custom. If you give Custom a click, it will take you to your Custom Activities page. And you can see I've created quite a few already, so once you've created activities and you click Custom on the left, all your activities you've created will show up on this screen. My students actually this week, my 6th graders are going to be doing this one, the 5.5 through 5.7 review. My 7th graders are going to be doing a chapter 5 review. So let me teach you though how to create your own activity, and there's a lot of functions, a lot of fun functions. Over here on the right, you'll see this little blue tab for new activity. You want to create your own activity, a new activity, give that a click. All right, so we click new activity and it takes you to the activity builder. All right, and the first thing you need to do to create an activity is give it a title. So let's say today, well, my 6th graders are going to be getting into integers starting next week. So maybe the title of your activity is integers. All right, plug in your title, hit get started, and then now we're into the actual activity creator, and you're seeing a lot of functions right now, and I'm going to walk you through what each one of them does. So over here on the left, this is where you're going to see all the screens that you've created, all the slides you've created for your students. If you hit new screen, it will add a new slide. They all start blank. You see I can add however many I want right now, but they're all blank, and then we build out from there. So how I like to start is always with this note feature right here. If you click note, it will allow you to give your students a little piece of information here. Now, you'll see right up here, you have the option to add a title or instructions for your students right here. Now, I don't like to put anything on that line, and you'll see why in just a second. I always like to add a note. This is the first thing when the students get to this slide. It's where you can put your instructions. It's where you can provide information. I like to put a lot of definitions and example problems in the notes. So let's just say this is our opening slide. We're going to say, hey team, today you will be completing an activity on integers. Click next to get started. All right, so they open up, it's the first screen, this is what they're going to see. Now, if you ever want to preview what the screen will look like for your student, up in the upper right here, there's this little preview button. I love to use that. It allows you to catch mistakes and really see what you're doing. So if I click preview, right, this is my student screen preview. This is what they'll see right off the bat. That looks, you know, pretty boring though. Let's add some media to it. Well, what I like to do on each slide is, you know, add a little picture. And how I add pictures, whenever I'm creating an activity, I always open a separate tab and I go to Google Images. So let's say in this opening slide, I want to, maybe I say math is, let's Google math is fun. Find a little fun picture. Okay, this one looks awesome. Open this picture. I like to save pictures to my desktop, and then you'll see why in just a second. If I save this image to my desktop as maybe just, we're going to save this as, we're going to save this as number 1. Let's say this is my picture number 1. All right, the picture is saved to my desktop now. I go back to my activity builder. If I click media now, media allows me to add pictures to my presentation. Now it gives me this media box. If I click choose a file to upload, and then I click on that number 1 that I just saved from Google Images, open that, boom, now my students open this slide. They have a fun little picture. They have a little note. It makes it more personal, I believe. It just gives your activity a little bit more character. And now if we hit the preview at the upper right, we'll see, oh, the students see this, they get into the activity. Hey team, today we'll be completing an activity on integers. Click next to get started. We have a fun little picture here. And it just, it gives your presentation a little more character. So that's my opening slide. Let's go to a new slide. So now we want to start adding maybe some questions or some information that we want the students to respond. And yeah, so let's say maybe on this slide, I always like to start with a note, give them some instructions. Maybe we're going to ask them a question on this slide. So what is an integer? And we want them to respond. So up here, these little light green boxes, these are the respond features. So we could ask for just student input. We could make this a multiple choice problem, or we could explore some of the more features. I'm going to go over the multiple choice right now. So if you want to make this a multiple choice question, click this choice button right here. From there, if you drop down below, so my question is, what is an integer? And now I'm going to be able to fill out the multiple choice answers. So maybe my first one would be a whole positive number. Okay, let's add another option. How about a whole negative number? Let's add a third option, 0, and let's add a fourth option, all of the above. Cool thing here is you're able to select what is the correct answer in this case, and it would be all of the above. So if I mark that one as correct, when we're in the teacher screen, we'll be able to mark when students answer this question, it'll show us whether or not they got it correct or incorrect. So we check that all of the above option there. We also have the option to ask students to explain their answer. If you want students to explain, why did you choose this, check that box. Once they answer the question, and I'll show you this you'll be able to check this in the preview slide here, they'll have to actually give a little explanation to why they chose that. And also after they submit a response, if you want their responses to be shared with the entire class, you can check this box. And once they submit their answer, they'll be able to see what their other classmates said on this problem, which is a great feature. My students love that because after they answer a harder question or maybe one they think they got right, they're able to see what the rest of the class submitted. That can be really beneficial, not only reassuring, okay, I got this one right and the majority of the class did, I'm doing really good, or like, oh my gosh, I got this, I answered this one this way, but like the majority of the class answered it this way. Should I be thinking about this differently? So I love to keep that box checked there, just as a way to keep your students focused on, what am I doing this correctly? Am I doing this incorrectly? Should I be thinking about this in a different way? And if you want to randomize the choices so that all of these will be random, you can click that box. Nothing, doesn't really matter too much. You'll see over here on the right, you can actually add images or graphs for your multiple choice questions. So if you want to explore that a little further, you totally can. So if we go up and we click on the preview screen now, you'll see that students, this is what the student will now see on slide 2. What is an integer? And let's say a student clicks 0, this is just a sample response. They'll click 0 and then they'll be asked to explain their thinking. Because maybe just the student says, because it is different than positive, or blah, 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 blah. They share it with the class, the rest of the class can see it. So now here's why I don't like to add instructions at the top. For instance, we say, question number 1. If I hit preview there, I mean, that's okay, but I it adds wording here right on top of your wording here, and I just think it's too many words. It keeps it. They're going to answer the question either way, so you can add that title if you want, but I don't like to. I think it makes it a little more jumbled. As we leave that blank, they'll just get to this slide and be prompted right away to answer the question. All right, so that's how to ask a question with a multiple choice response. So let's go to a new slide over here, and remember, to add new slides, okay, you just hit this add button. So let's say on this slide, I always start with start with your note. Start with your note. Maybe in this case, we're going to explore the input, just a student response by typing. We're going to explore that feature. So maybe my question here is, give an example, or give 3 examples of integers. Okay, so students are going to need to give 3 examples of integers, and we want them to actually type in 3 different examples of an integer. So now we're not using multiple choice, we just want student input. So we click this little green input tab right here. Now students will be required to enter some text, and you have the option here. If it was like a math response, if maybe the question was like, what is, or they were typing in an equation, then the math response would be good, because when they're typing in numbers and operations, the math feature is very beneficial. But if you just want them to write, give 3 examples of integers, a basic question that requires just a basic typing response, the text is phenomenal. And again, showing students their classmates' responses, I think, is fantastic. I always keep that box checked. Now, keep in mind, they don't see their classmates' responses before they submit the question. So it's not like they're getting that slide, they have all these classmate responses, and they're given the answers. No, they actually have to think, they have to type in their response. Once they click submit, then they see their classmates' responses. So if you see the preview screen here, now students will need to just enter some text. Give 3 examples of an integer. Maybe we put 4, 6, and 7. There's 3 integers. Share it with the class. Okay, that's the input response. And keep in mind, on any of these screens, if you wanted to add a picture here, so maybe I go over here, we're going to Google a picture of integers. You can add media to any screen you want. So here's a nice number line here. I always like to save them as just like 1, 2, 3. Keeps me organized, because then I delete them off my desktop after they're in the activity. So maybe I take this picture, I save it as number 2. Come back to the activity. On this slide, give 3 examples of integers. I'm going to add a picture here as well. We're going to put number 2 here. So now students preview this slide. They're given a number line. We have negative integers, positive integers, and 0. But now they have a number line to work off of. They have a picture to look at to complement this problem as well. So a lot of information so far. Let me just give you a couple more pieces of information on how to create slides. A lot of this slide creation just comes from trial and error. So you're just you're just going through and just clicking on these things and trying them out, being an active learner, an active problem solver. So let's say this is a feature that I actually really like, and it's the sketch feature. So I always start with a note. Again, you can add a title and instructions up here. I don't like to. I think it's just too much words at the end of the day. How about we say this? Draw a number line. And my students love this. I don't love drawing on a computer on a mouse pad or a trackpad, but for some reason students love it and they get really creative. So let's say here, draw a number line. Let's see, counting by 2s from -4 to 4. Then circle 1 negative integer. All right, so there's my instructions. Watch this. On the upper left, you actually have the ability to give your students a sketch pad. So let's hit sketch. Now, when students open the slide, we preview it, they're going to read the directions, and over here on the left, they're actually going to have to use their mouse to draw a number line. And again, we as teachers, this is kind of, I don't know, I don't like it, but my students love it. -4, -2, blah, 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 blah. They love going in here and they love drawing on this sketch feature. So that's a great option too if you want your students maybe draw a small picture. If you're an English teacher or a history teacher, or I don't know, and you're asking a question, draw, maybe respond, how does this make you feel? They're able to draw smiley faces, frowny faces, all that kind of fun stuff there. So let's go to one more new slide. Let me walk you through just a couple more features. So here, more, you can do card sorts, ordered lists, which is pretty fun. So maybe this question would be order the integers from smallest, or from least to greatest. And then let's hit more here, and we want to create an ordered list. All right, the first integer maybe is -4. And then we want -3, and then we're going to go 5, and then we're going to go 10. So I put them in order, but it doesn't matter truly. So let's see. Now we go to the preview. All right, now the students will actually be asked to order these from least to greatest. Okay, -4, -3, 5, and 10. I probably would have wanted jumbled up. I put them in order on accident to start. But then, yeah, then they get to order them. They get to actually do some ordering, which is pretty cool. One more feature would be, again, you can add media on these. You could add slide. You could add a graph. You can add as many things you want on each slide. So let's add one more. Always start with a note. Okay, maybe group, maybe this one is group the negative integers and group the positive integers. So we could go over here, hit this more. We're going to create an ordered list. Let's see. Wait, could we do card sort here? Let's see. More. Let's do, card sort. I guess no instructions for a card sort, but you could add a text card right here. All right. Again, these are features that just you explore on your own and you become more confident with them. So let's delete this slide. Let's say that, okay, now we have completed our activity. So let's give one final note. Great job today. You are all done. Okay, so let's say you're done creating your activity. What you're going to do is you're going to go up here and you're going to hit the next function. Now, one thing I like to do before I fully create my activity, I like to go back to the beginning and I like to hit preview. And I like to walk through each slide that I've created, because sometimes I'll accidentally I'll add a note that was requiring a response, but I forgot to hit the input box and give them the option to put in a response. So I like to just go back to the beginning, do a quick preview before I fully create my activity. So I hit next. That one looks good. That one looks good. That one looks good. Okay, students have a response here. That one looks good. That one looks good. Maybe this one, my response, look at, they're already in order of least to greatest. So I'm going to go back to my slide number. What number is that? Number 5. And I'm going to put my -4 here. I'm going to put 5 here. I'm going to put 10 here. I'm going to put -3 here. Okay, so now I go to my preview. Oh, okay, now students are really going to have to order. They're going to have to think hard to order them. All right, so that slide looks good. And I preview. Oh, okay, my activity's done. You're done with your activity. What you're going to do is go to the upper right where this next button is. Click next. You can add a description here. Link, you can make this, anyone with the link can view it. You can make it private. If you're going to be sharing it with students, you need to make sure that anybody can view the link. Once you hit done, it'll take you to the main page where you'll be able to actually create a class code. But let's say, for some reason you got lost, whatever, you got back to the home page, you're like, oh my gosh, where's my activity? You can always find your activity on the left where it says your activities by clicking custom. This is an activity that we just created. So once you've created your activity and you are ready to give it to your students to have them complete it, all you do here is click create a class code. Okay, we create a class code. There it is. My students are going to be able to go in and now actually complete the activity. So let me show you what it looks like on the student's end, and I'm going to give you a set of sample directions here. Well, actually, let me show you the directions right here. If you click this View Dashboard button, and I'm going to go over the dashboard in just a second, it'll tell you what your students have to do to get into the activity. And I have these memorized by now. It's a two-step process for students getting in and completing an activity. Number one, go to student.desmos.com. Two, enter the class code that you've created for the activity. In this case, the class code was SNAZ7W. So I'm going to write that down real quick so that I'm going to show you what it looks like on the student's end. SNAZ7W. So you tell your students, maybe this is in your Google Classroom, your activity for the day. All right, students, you need to go to student.desmos.com, student.desmos.com. Okay, your student goes to this website. Okay, you tell on your Google Classroom 2, you say, after you've gone to student.desmos.com, enter the class code SNAZ7W and click join. Oh, and there's the activity right there. It's coming up. The student clicks join. Look at this. Then they enter their name. So maybe your third instruction on your Google Classroom is enter your first and last name and click go. So I click mine. Maybe this is Casey Jacobson Jr. He's going in today. They click go and they're into the activity. So your student is now into the activity. And guess what? You don't need to be online. They can do this from wherever. All right. So they are going to go through. They're reading the instructions. Hey team, today you'll be completing an activity on integers. Click next to get started. Your students click next. What is an integer? They are going to answer this question. Okay, maybe Casey Jacobson Jr. clicks. An integer is a positive number. Explain your thinking. Because it is on the right side of the number line. Okay, and we're going to share that with the class. Now, after they've shared it with the class, since I'm the only student in here and the only one that's working on it, there are not any other student responses. But once a lot of the class has started to respond to these questions, all the other student responses will show up down here. So they'll be able to back up whatever they answered with kind of what the rest of the class would see. All right, so Casey Jacobson Jr. got through this slide. He's going to go next, give 3 examples of integers. Okay, 4. I'm going to do 4, 0, and -2. All right, I share that with the class again. Once a lot of the class has gone through the activity, they'll be able to see what other peers responded here. Click next. All right, student, it tells the student here, draw a number line. So the student draws a number line. And I'm going to speed up here. I'm not going to do all of it. Student clicks next, order the integers from least to greatest. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. This looks pretty good. Next, and you're all done. So then on the left-hand side here, they can click sign out and exit the activity. Actually, they can just close. Their instructions can just be when you're done, just close the current tab because it saves all their work automatically. They can just close out, or they can go on the left-hand side here and sign out and exit the activity. So now the student's done it, and you want to see their work. All right. So if you go at any time too, maybe I accidentally get out of here. I accidentally go, oh, Google, I lost everything. No, you didn't. Go back to teacher.desmos.com. On the left-hand side, click custom. Okay, and this was the activity we just created, integers. Once you go in here, your activity for the class code that you created, you're going to actually, if you want to see what your students have done, you click this View Dashboard button over here. And you can create class codes for each class. You have 5 classes that are going to do this. You can create a different class code for each one. If you click this View Dashboard button, it's going to take you into what your students have done. It's going to show you your student work. So Casey Jacobson Jr., he just went through this activity, and it shows you his responses for each slide that he was on. So for instance, if I click on this first slide here, I can actually get full class responses. So once you have like a ton of students that your entire class answered this first question, which was what is an integer, you'll be able to see how many students answered the different questions. But if you want to look at just the individual student response, if you go back here and click summary, Casey Jacobson Jr. here, if you click on his box, it shows an X. When we were creating this activity, creating this slide, we selected what was the right answer for this question. And it was, when we pull up that slide, it was all of the above. But I see an X here. Look at what Casey, if I click on that, it shows me what Casey Jacobson Jr. answered. What is an integer? A whole positive number, because it's on the right side of the number line. Well, he's incorrect here, so seeing this, I'd be able to reach out to this student and inform him of where his thinking should have been a little bit different on this problem. So I'm actually able to scroll through and see each of Casey Jacobson Jr.'s responses. So if I just click on this first box for him, and then I just click next through, I'm able to see what all of his responses were. So that's what he did there. That's what he did there. Cool. That was his ordering activity, or his ordering slide. Good. So if you have a full class here, you're able to scroll through and see what each student individually responded. But what's kind of cool too, if you click on just the slides at the top, like this one, it will give you, once the whole class is done, it'll show what each student has responded. So I know this is a lot, team, but again, once you just get in and play with this, it has so much power. I think it's a lot. There's just a lot you can do here besides giving your students, just read and respond to some questions or watch some YouTube videos. I think it's really our time to shine and give our students meaningful activities, engaging activities. That's a huge question right now. How can we engage our students at home while not in the classroom? And that's a tough question, but I think it's going to be learning and exploring new platforms such as Desmos. This is a really cool tool, has a lot of power. And I hope this tutorial helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach back out to me. You guys have my email, but again, Desmos, great activity builder. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.